my gosh. All right, folks, welcome to the Crazy Dre Podcast Show. Again, thank you for showing up. I'm from the state of Michigan. I'm going to do a podcast, an episode about Malcolm X, as I've done in the past around his birthday. This is a little late, going to June. His birthday is May 19. I tendency like to talk about Malcolm X when it's not February, the African American month of the year. I think that's just a cliche to be talking about a person like that in February. That's just my opinion. So I'm gonna take it a little different. Not just talk about it, but have it. I'm gonna take an archive from the CBC. Uh, then I'm gonna go through the questions through what the interviewer asked Malcolm X. Have Malcolm X answer it. Then I'll give you my opinion of what I felt about what Malcolm X was saying, thinking. Uh, I'm not going to get into the history of Malcolm X, uh, his early life, and with Nation Islam. I'm going to tell you along the way of that history. Um, but to not get to dragging on and not get into the video, I'm going to start the video and go from there. And here we go. Oops.
Negro leader Malcolm X.
Sir, what's the real reason why you two men split? Is it merely ideological or is it personality? What else?
Probably personality. It was not the statement that originally was given by the movement when we split. More personality than anything else.
You've called people like Martin Luther King, who just got a Nobel Peace Prize, an Uncle Tom. Is this correct, first?
Well, I'd rather say that in the States, there's a law that has recently been passed or a decision handed down by the court wherein if you call someone an Uncle Tom, they can sue you for libel.
Well,
so I never refer to them as Uncle Toms. I would say that Uncle Martin is my friend.
Uncle Martin is your friend, yet you would disagree with his approach to what he wants to accomplish.
Definitely. If his approach would bring about what the black man in America needs to completely eliminate the problem that we have, I would say well and good. But I very much doubt that anyone who adopts the approach that Martin Luther King has been teaching to our people in that country can point to any meaningful gains that has actually served to solve the problem.
Black Muslims have sometimes, whether you have or not...
All right, I'm going to start with those first two questions. So the first question was that Malcolm X was asked as, why did you and the Nation of Islam, Prophet Elijah, split? Was it personality? Was it a ideology? I think I would tell you it's a little bit both. Remember, Malcolm X was in prison at one point. Was introduced to Prophet Elijah through his brother. Was taught the teachings of the Nation of Islam. When he got out of prison, he went to where Prophet Elijah was located. Was being taught a certain style of black individuality, pride, um, almost kind of a very structured, militant style of racism. And Prophet Elijah makes it clear that uh, that the two sides, whites and blacks, cannot coexist. At one point, Prophet Elijah taught Malcolm X about uh, separating the whites and blacks from and going to a different state. In doing so, but the other side of the coin is also that when Malcolm X came back to the states after he came from Mecca, his philosophy changed, along with the ideology of what uh, Prophet Elijah was talking about segregation, separation of two races. Because Malcolm X, when he went to Mecca, he realized that he was sharing the same cup as communion with the whites and blacks and brown and other race of people who believed in Islam. There's another uh, side of the coin that you could spin this around again. Malcolm X finds out that a couple of teenage girls were pregnant, and the father of the child was probably Prophet Elijah, and Prophet Elijah uh, didn't really live up to what he thought was the way of Islam. Uh, those two sides kind of bump heads with the other brotherhoods of the Nation of Islam. Remember, at the same time, Prophet Elijah's son is in around the 30s, 40s, uh, may take over the Nation of Islam. That's another, I would say, personality issue. Two, two, two men in their late 30s uh, reaching to a point where they're going to take over what Prophet Elijah has done in his temples and in his religious beliefs and the leadership of the Nation Islam. So that's three sides of the coin. Uh, the second question that they ask is that do you call uh, Dr. King, Dr. Martin, and Uncle Tom? Uncle Tom in the 60s basically meant that a black man would be uh, friends with white people and backstabbing his own black people to get gain or have insurance of life and not being thrown in prison or kissing the white man's butt. The terminology of Uncle Tom, that's what it was based on the 50s and 60s. It has changed a little bit because there's a storyline where Uncle Tom was not what the term really meant. He was not about separation, but that in the story is also very vague to me, so I can't really go into clear detail. The next question I'm going to go into is that um, Muslims are taught to teach hate. I'll let Malcolm X answer the question. I'll let the interviewer finish the question.
And I think probably you have sometimes, it seemed to me, been preaching hate to meet hate.
I don't advocate any kind of hate.
But
I
there's a
think
lot
that,
of talk that sounds very much like it.
no, I think that the guilt complex of the American white man is so profound until when you begin to analyze the real condition of the black man in America, instead of the American white man eliminating the causes that create that condition, he tries to cover it up by accusing his accusers of teaching hate. But actually, they're just exposing him for being responsible for what exists.
Well, that's
So, what Malcolm X is really saying is that even though Dr. Kane or other black leaders were going into the cities of the white community or trying to change the laws or trying to have the right to vote, have the right to go to any restroom, go into any restaurant, and and do whatever that they should be able to do based on the Constitution. They were rejected in every way possible uh, because it's kind of like two faced. So you can't ask people to change if you don't allow yourself to change. So if you deliberately segregate people into chaos and income deficiency, and they cause issues, it's because the laws were never changed so that the white man and the black man could coexist, or the black man could exist without the extra help of the white community or the white government or any government. When I speak like this, just be clear that this is the terminology of the 1950s and the 1960s. So don't get it twisted by saying that I'm going back reverse and creating new racism or whatever. So if you cause the problems and you're not willing to change it after the Civil War and the Civil Rights Movement, during the Civil Rights Movement, and then violence is being caused, then you're the issue. So Malcolm X is actually saying that these Southern white men and Northern white men are somewhat the problem of why Black communities cannot proceed to be successful.
That's something of an argument, but I've heard speeches made by some of the people of your group. I think I've heard you make speeches. It seemed to me that you were advocating what I would have to describe, I think, as violence to meet the serious injuries that have been done your people, with which I totally agree.
I don't call that violence. I don't in any way encourage black people to go out and initiate acts of aggression indiscriminately against whites. But I do believe that the black man in the United States and any human being, anywhere, is well within his right to do whatever is necessary, by any means necessary, to protect his life and property, especially in a country where the federal government itself has proven that it is either unable or unwilling to protect the lives and property of those human beings.
Just before Pierre takes it, you've got a pretty good fighter and the world's heavyweight champion lined up with you to help out. Yes, Pierre. Well, Mr. X,
So going back to that question with Malcolm X about Muslims being are taught to be hateful or start crimes or violence or whatever, Malcolm X makes it clear that he does not believe in violence. He does not believe in causing physical pain to someone else unless he's being threatened or being attacked by someone or anyone. And he actually believes that any person in America, regardless of the white or black, are allowed to protect themselves from those who are attacking them, which is basically the Constitution or the Second Amendment. I know the Second Amendment is to carry your own guns and so on and so forth, but in reality, it's really about the Second Amendment is really about protecting your land, your property, yourself from those or the government who is trying to so what threaten you in a illegal fashion. He does also state that the government has never made an effort to progress the African American rights. There's been laws that have taped people or taped a black man away from owning businesses, owning property. Those are the type of things that he's really speaking of. So he doesn't really go in deep detail about that because at that time, those type of being aware of that was not really in your face. There was more in your face about having the right to vote, having the right to go to any restaurant, ordering type of food, not being chased out of places, being attacked by dogs, uh, anything like that. So it was pretty rough for the African American community, and I'm not trying to make any excuses for anyone or making a justification for that time period. I'm just letting you guys know what was really going on, coming from a guy that didn't live in that era, but for some reason I just did enjoy or was intrigued or aware of that type of era.
I guess I call you that. Is that the proper appellation,
Yes.
Mr. X? I'm wondering if you still believe, as I think you certainly did at the time you were allied to the Black Muslim movement, in a segregated black nation
No.
in North America.
I don't believe in any form of segregation or any form of racism. I'm against any form of segregation and against racism.
Am I right in saying that the Black Muslim movement, which you have left, did believe in that?
Well, Elijah Muhammad taught his followers that the only solution was a separate state for black people. And as long as I thought he genuinely believed that himself, I believed in him and believed in his solution. But when I began to doubt that he himself believed that that was feasible, and I saw no kind of action designed to bring it into existence or bring it about, then I turned in a different direction.
Are you still a Muslim
Oh,
yourself?
yes. I'm a Muslim. I believe in the religion of Islam, which believes in brotherhood, complete brotherhood of all people.
So I'm going to stop there and go to what the last question was. Is that asking of Malcolm X is still a Muslim? Yes, he's a very proud Muslim. He died as a Muslim. Remember, he was assassinated by his own people. So, so to 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 think about that is really contradicting to what the Nation Islam is really about. But then the next question was that does Malcolm X believe in segregation of a North America, of a Nation Islam, of the Black community? Again, this is a statement that Malcolm X. You got to remember, Malcolm X took to everything that Prophet Elijah said to him as like a father figure. So what Malcolm X didn't have in a father because his father was assassinated or killed in Nebraska. Prophet Elijah became his new father figure in the Nation of Islam. So when the prophet Elijah said that there should be a separate state among whites and blacks and segregation and keep everything separated, that is very much true to what Prophet Elijah really wanted. But when Malcolm X realized uh, that Elijah was probably running his mouth and didn't really know what he was talking about, he didn't believe in that system. Uh, and a lot of his philosophy after you gotta remember after this philosophy, after he came back to the States, after he visited Mecca, he changed his tone and realized that not all white people, not all black people are bad or good. It's about more about characteristics or personality. Somewhat is a missing link to what Dr. King was saying in the beginning of his speeches. That kind of idea kind of got lost. Um, but remember, a lot of what Malcolm X says is after he came back from Mecca. So uh, going along with, are you like again? I'm not going to go through this question. Are you still a Muslim? I already just said that he dies a Muslim. His own people killed him, along probably with the CIA, maybe the FBI. I can't I can't tell who did it. There's been too many theories about that stuff that's never going to get answered until 500 years after America is still around or in a different situation. But going back to the question, here we go.
But at the same time that I believe in this brotherhood, I don't believe in forcing my desire for brotherhood upon those who aren't willing to accept it.
Of course, I think the Christians would say that they also believe in brotherhood. What did you say to that?
I'd say they believe in it, but don't practice it.
Well, that'd be a pretty good answer.
Sir, when the muezzin goes up in the minaret twice a day, he
So this is the question he said about brotherhood is that this is one thing I like about Malcolm X is that he's not trying to force you to be a Muslim. He's not trying to change your ideology. He just wants to inform you of certain things about life. Clearly, he at one point says that Jesus Christ could probably not have been a white male with blue eyes and blonde hair. And that's probably true because Jesus was raised and born within the city limits of Jerusalem, Bethlehem, in the state of Israel or the country of Israel. So it makes sense of what he was saying. But for most of us, it really doesn't matter if Jesus Christ is white with blue eyes or brown with brown hair or is a brown man or a black man. The purpose of being a Christian is to believe that God is in control or Jesus is in control and Jesus is the way to your salvation. Uh, Again, for me, it's difficult to digest that because I can't imagine God saying that only Christians are going to go to heaven, and only Muslims are going to go to heaven, or only Jews are going to go to heaven, or other spiritual uh, deities will be acceptance to heaven. I believe there's much more of a characteristic. I think God's more deeper than just one way to get to the promised land. Basically, the promise that he made with Moses. Uh, the reason why Moses was not able to enter the land of Canaan was basically of doubt, I think. But don't quote me. That's the Torah, Judaism, Jewish uh, uh, philosophy, or in that story. I shouldn't say philosophy. But going on to this question, to the next question.
Cries to the world, there is but one God, and he is Allah. Do you deny that there is a Christian God?
The Muezzin does this 5 times a day.
5 times, and I only heard him twice.
Well, you were fortunate to hear him twice. But he does this 5 times a day, and the same God that he says that he expresses the existence of is the God that the Christians profess to believe in themselves, and the God that the Jews believe in. One God, the creator of the universe. The Muslims believe in the God that created the universe, and I think the Christians do, and the Jews do. Now, as long as all of them are talking about the creator, the Jews may call him Jehovah, and Christians may have another name for him. Those who are Arabic speaking refer to him as Allah. Well, we believe in the same God.
Now, as the Muslim religion advances in the United
So going through that question, as I was a little distracted, he basically says that he basically says what I think so too, is that God created the universe, and if we all believe in the same God, then we all will enter or be saved by God. Judaism is considered the first chapter of God. Christianity is considered the second chapter of God to Jesus Christ, and the third is Prophet Muhammad through Allah. Allah, in the version that I learned, was that he was supposed to help the Christians and the Jews believe in a God, not in a prophet. So Muslims don't believe that Jesus Christ is a divine man of God. He's just a man or a messenger from God, and so to a certain extent. Uh, I I believe that God has more of to deal with the whole universe, kind of like what Malcolm X does. I don't actually believe that God will just have one way to heaven, or one way to salvation, or one way to anything. Again, I'm repeating what I said 2.5, 3 minutes ago, so I'm going to keep moving on to the next question.
States, are you modernizing it or sticking with the old faiths? For example, the complete segregation of the sexes.
I think that everything today on this earth is being modernized. Religious principles and practices, as well as political and other things.
Now, when you went to Mecca, this is a very sacred and forbidden city. I tried.
So, when Malcolm X says everything's being modernized or everything's being changed, religion, people's their generation changes. There's less people going to church now. There are people that may believe more in the agnostic way of living through God, not knowing if God actually exists, but acknowledging that there's might be power or a certain being out there that controls the world or helps to maintain the world, other than just the signs of the world spinning around. Uh, but b- based on structure and modernizing, what Malcolm X is really saying is like, people don't follow rules and laws anymore of the Quran, or people don't follow the rules of the Bible, the Old Testament or the New Testament, everything's changing. Everything's being modernized based on what makes you feel good about your life. So if you feel like you can't go to church or you don't want to go to church, then church is important to you. If you feel that praying 5 times to the east is too much, that's modernizing through the Quran or through Islam. Saying your prayers before eating your meal every night or every day is a considering a place where Christians and Jews always pray to God and thank their meal and thank God for this meal. There's ways to monetize it by not doing it, uh, but even even having an affair outside your marriage, having sexual relations outside the marriage concept is monetizing as well. So stuff like that, it's what he's kind of pointing out to be more. Uh, I don't know if he was really clear in saying anything about the sexes of women's rights, of women's uh, free will to vote and and free will to do what they want to do with their bodies. That's not in this statement or this questionnaire.
Tried to get to Mecca myself and certainly didn't make it, not being a Muslim. But how would they accept you as one? You're an American. There are few American Muslims.
This is true, and by being an American and not having not being able to speak the Arabic language, I did strike a snag, a very serious snag. But I was fortunate to have been pretty well known by the officials in Arabia, and they knew too that I had accepted Orthodox Islam. It had been highly publicized in the paper, and became a guest of the state. I was a guest of Prince Faisal, the present King Faisal. And they made it possible for me to go before the Hajj committee or Hajj court, who examines you and asks you questions about your belief. And if you pass it, then you are okay to go to Mecca. But
You would have to have a translator then.
I had one. Then realizing that our problem in America, that we are black Americans.
So going back to that question, just clear it up to everyone. A lot of people who are super religious, regards to the Judaism, Christianity, uh, Islam, they go back to I would call the motherland of religion, or I would even call it Western religion. Uh, Muslims go to Mecca, Christians go to Bethlehem and Jerusalem, and the Israelites or the Jewish people go back to Israel. Everyone who I don't have a need to do so, but that's what people kind of do, and that's what Malcolm X did. He went to Mecca, learned a new way of learning Islam, had the rights to do so, and he did it, and he came back, and now he's in this interview with CBC.
Americans, and we have a problem that goes beyond religion. We formed a group known as the Organization of Afro-American Unity. And the objective of this organization, it's non-religious, number one. Any Negro can belong to it. And the objective of that organization is to bring about a condition that will guarantee respect and recognition of the 22 million black Americans as human beings. We feel that the problem, number one, of the black man in America is beyond America's ability to solve. It's a human problem, not an American problem or a Negro problem. And as a human problem or a world problem, we feel that it should be taken out of the jurisdiction of the United States government and the United States courts and taken into the United Nations in the same manner that the problems of the black man in South Africa, Angola, and other parts of the world, and even the way they're trying to bring the problems of the Jews in Russia into the United Nations because of violation of human rights. We believe that our problem is one not of violation of civil rights, but a violation of human rights. Not only are we denied the right to be a citizen in the United States, we're denied the right to be a human being.
Mr. X, may I thank you very much for coming.
So to end this video, or this part of the video, uh, the real issue that Malcolm X has is that among black people in the world. Uh, he believes that black people in the world have little rights of human rights or civil rights. He doesn't believe in the state or the government or any government in the United States to be able to help the 22 million African Americans in this community. I mean, at this time, he creates an Afro American unity, um, kind of a new wave for him when he left the Nation Islam. Nation Islam did not like that at all. Uh, this way, that every black man in America or black woman in America could vote or live their life in peace or in a way that they can work and make sufficient money for themselves without any government uh, assistance or any government help. Uh, Again, this is a probably one of the best videos I've seen of the new wave Malcolm X. This is something that you're just not going to hear a lot of people say anymore about Malcolm X. Especially people like in my tone. Uh, I guess I'm the type of guy that gives people the benefit of the doubt or listen to them before I make a judgment. To end the video, I got to show this part because it's pretty important.
Coming on our program and perhaps clearing away some of the cobwebs of misconception that some of us might have had about your belief. And I think you're a very sincere man, and it takes a lot of courage to admit a former belief is wrong. And we congratulate you for that and the service you performed tonight in giving us your views. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So at the end of the video, the CBC interviewer host thanks Malcolm X, congratulates him on this in this segment, gives him a compliment about being an intelligent individual, taking encouragement, uh, giving him encouraging words to enter this platform and to be clear of what he believes in. I think this is something that most people can't do anymore in politics or anything like this is have a debate, be able to just speak the words of a person and go back and forth. I know the interviewers did not really ask him a lot of questions about. Uh, they didn't debate him. They kind of just let him speak his mind, which is something that's very important to do. To allow someone to that you don't know much about or you don't understand to let him do his thing or her thing, and then at the right time in the right moment in a debate, in a real debate, you can discuss back and forth of what you agreed or disagreed. But this is my take on Malcolm X. This is kind of why I've always kind of, uh, I don't, I just believe in that concept of his philosophy. He was willing to learn. He was willing to change. He's willing to be angry at one point and then be happy and then to readjust his philosophy and then to again uh, be the man that he was at that time in the interview. So thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. You can find me on Apple, Spotify, rss.com. You can find me on YouTube, Patreon. Please subscribe. Please follow. Tell other people about it. Thank you so much, and good night.